Oh, wow, were they going head up with him? They ain't scared of him. What is these animals? Them the ones that eat snakes, huh? Is them mongooses? Oh, wow. It's about 12 of them, cuz they done back the gator up. I ain't never seen a gator get punked by no mongooses. Retreat, yeah, retreat. Yeah, back up, fool. We deep. Yeah, we them boys. Hey, hold on.
Hello, my name is Antony Evans and I run an animation studio called Digital Puppets in the UK and have recently working with Taiyaki Studios based in LA. We specialise in real-time character creation for VTubing, virtual avatar presenters and influencers, and quick turnaround animations using motion capture technology. In this video, I'm going to run through the process of creating a stylized Snoop Dogg avatar. We're going to begin with creating a more realistic version, as this is a great base to make the stylized cartoon version from. We will be working with Character Creator 4 and also looking at the Mesh to MetaHuman workflow to see which works best. Once the character is complete, we'll be adding the wrinkles using the new Character Creator 4 wrinkle map feature, which really adds an extra level of detail and really helps bring these characters to life. We started off the process by getting a reference image. Funnily enough, the image that we used was actually from ArtStation, and we'll put a link in below because that was actually the best front-on view that we managed to find. And we've run that through Headshot in Character Creator 4, and this gives us a really good base to start from. So it does a good job at kind of giving you some of the features from front-on, but obviously from profile and different views, we've got to do a little bit of tweaking to get that to look right. So I always try and get as close as I can using the morphs or using the edit mesh tool in iClone. So here on Sketchfab you can see that I've managed to find a model that somebody has made of Snoop Dogg. I'm going to use this as a reference to try and match some of the features because they've done a pretty good job here. So I'm going to download this model and bring it in to Character Creator 4 to use as a reference. As you can see here, we've got the FBX model with the texture applied, and we're going to scale it down and just going to try and match it as close to, line it up to what we've got here in the shot in Character Creator 4. And as you can see, there's some differences in the model. Obviously this model isn't symmetrical as well, so we've got to bear that in mind. So again, go back to the morphs and just move everything around and get it as close as we can, and back and forth to just see, you know, just by eye how it's looking. The next step is to bring the model to ZBrush. So in here we're going to utilize some of the features like projecting the shape of the model, and also just some of the morph tools that can be used, like the tools like generally use about 4 tools, which is move topology, pinch, and then like the smoothing tools. Here you can see I'm just reprojecting certain areas. I don't want to do the whole head again because of the symmetrical issue, so I'm just going to take like the nose and the ears, do a bit of sculpting, and it's just a back and forth process until you get something that you're happy with. You can spend a lot of time with this, but with this whole series of models, I'm trying to find a quick way of making something. I don't want to spend days or weeks building up these models. I want to try and find a quicker solution. So Headshot is an extremely quick solution for this. So now I'm happy enough with how the head's kind of looking, I can move on to the next stage and start adding in some detailing like hair and the beard and things like that. So just going through the content library of stuff that I've got, seeing if there's any hair that I already own that matches up without having to create anything new. So again, it's just another bit of trial and error. I've managed to find some from the packs that I've got, like the pigtails that I can use. The hair and beard content pack works really well for this type of thing. Again, I've got another hairstyle that I've now brought back into ZBrush just to manipulate it, to make it look a little bit closer to what it needs to be. It's not the best, but it's a close approximation of the type of thing I'm after. I could spend some more time either finding a better model or creating my own. Here you can see that I am just fixing up the eye blinks. The fix eye blink feature in Character Creator 4 works really well. So if you ever noticed when the character closes his eyes, it's not working properly, just use that fix eye blink and it tends to do a good job at fixing it. Again, I'm just working with content packs that I've already got. These can be things that can be made from scratch, or you can find some better things online. So the biggest problem with headshot is, unless you've got a really clean, evenly lit image, you're going to have the issues of shadows and lighting not being right. So I'm just going to, I brought the texture into Photoshop and just trying to even out the lighting. So, you know, using the layers and some different overlays and playing with the color. I'm just trying to just dull down those highlighted areas and to make it a little bit more even. So here I'm just playing around with tweaking some of the facial accessories, making sure the colors are right, just tweaking it to fit. A thing that makes a big difference with the character is the lighting. So I like to go through the presets and see how it looks with the different lighting settings, and this is where it kind of shows off the issues with the texturing. If you've got lighting and shadow on the texture, it's actually going to affect how the different lighting presets work as well. So if you have time, like getting that texture right is really good. And what we're working with isn't ideal now, but it does the job for a quick turnaround. So here you can see we've got an okay likeness. It's hasn't taken too long to get to this point. A lot more work could be done to get this better, but this is probably the quickest way. Headshot, bit of tweaking, back and forth to ZBrush, and you've got something that if you spent some more time on, you could definitely make it better, like fixing those textures, spending more time getting the shape right and things like that. So here you can see I'm just fixing up the teeth and getting them looking a little bit better. And again, like, you know, if I spent more time, I would use a reference of his actual teeth and try and model them to match. One thing I haven't done with this model yet is set up the different facial morphs. So that would be something like if you want the lip sync and the facial expressions to work better, you would go into the facial profile editor and make sure that all the different facial expressions and morph targets are matching up better to match his actual expressions. So it's just a case of playing with lighting. Another good benefit with Character Creator 4 is the skin gem plugin. So here I'm just going in and adding a little bit more detail to the model, like facial wrinkles, that micro detailing, pores, things like that, and it really helps add to the realism of the character. And what works really nicely with this is that it's all built in layers, so you can try out some things, turn it on and off, and just keep tweaking until you're happy with the results. So this is the final result. Quick turnaround with headshot, bit back and forth to ZBrush, and this is without any update of the facial morphs, and this is how the character's looking. So in conclusion, for a quick turnaround, this works quite well. So now we're going to attempt to use the Mesh to MetaHuman, to use the MetaHuman settings to create the realistic base to build this stylized character from. I'm not going to go into detail on how to set all this up. There's plenty of videos out there showing how to do this, and they'd probably explain it a lot better than me. So I'm just going to speed through this setup process. You can kind of see an overview of what's going on. You basically bring in the head, it lines up where the eyes and the mouth are, and then you load it in. So you can see that we've got the head base that matches what we created in Character Creator 4. This has been brought into the MetaHuman editor, and in here we can add in some skin textures and play around with the sliders and try and adjust the model to get it to look more like Snoop Dogg. So the textures work quite nicely in this. You've got a nice selection of different type base textures to work from. I had to play around with like merging some of the features from the other models, but we are kind of limited to how much we can kind of stretch these things around. The elements that are in there are really good, but you know, things like I wanted to move that forehead up higher, and it kind of just has a limit to how far it can go. And really what I wanted to be able to do was get in there and like customly move those faces on the polygons to exactly where I want it. So the final animations actually look really nice. I would have liked to have been able to do a bit more with the mesh to like kind of really customize it. And I think there's a good workflow of doing more in Character Creator 4 and then using that as a base to bring back into the MetaHuman editor. So in conclusion, where the MetaHuman model and rendering looks great and the animation looks great too, I just felt a little bit too limited on what I could do with the mesh. So there might be a possible better workaround with doing more in Character Creator 4 and then bringing what is built in there back into the MetaHuman setup. But for what we are working on, we are going to go back to the Character Creator 4 model that we had and start building a cartoon version. So for the cartoon build, we were looking at some references online of different styles and different characters that people have made. I quite like this Disney kind of look. So with the stylized character building, it's a lot of trial and error. So you know, it's a case of pulling the mesh around, trying to exaggerate some features, and there's so many different styles that you can do. So the first thing we do is take the realistic version that we've got, bring it into ZBrush, and just start pulling and pushing things around, like sharpening off the features, exaggerating different areas, and just going back and forth until we get something that we think looks right. The other thing that we need to do as well is kind of take out some of that detail from the texturing to kind of give it that more cartoony look. And here you can see that we're just kind of going in and making the eyes look more brighter. Just basically toning down the realism a little bit. After a while, I kind of thought I'm going to go a little bit more with that Disney look. So I'm now kind of like, instead of going for those sharp angles, I smoothed everything off, making the eyes a little bit more rounder. Like I say, you can really go from one extreme to another until you get the style that you like. And what's quite nice about ZBrush is that you can pull and push it around and go really extreme, but then come back to something else and just keep experimenting. So once that's done, you know, we've got to do a little bit of tweaking to get everything to line back up in Character Creator 4, but that's easily done with the sliders and the edit mesh tools. And again, just playing around with some sliders to get it, just tweak things to make it kind of fit how we want it to look. Again, playing around with some of the textures to smooth things out and take out some of that realism. Here, just add a little bit of colour into the face, and going into the skin gen just to add that little kind of micro detailing. Although, even though it's a stylized character and cartoony, it's really nice to have those like kind of pores and wrinkles and things added in. It just adds that detail that's subtle but adds a nice effect. Again, with the eyelashes, just kind of taking out that detail, having a bit more of a block shading to them. And it's just back and forth. You can spend ages really fine tuning the character. The other thing I always like to do with the characters is go through the light presets because the lighting really makes a big difference to how the character looks. So this was the final version of the cartoon character. We're quite pleased this is going with the Disney type look. So the next steps now are to add in the wrinkle maps and add in a little bit more detail in, just to take it to that next level. So after building the character, we actually took it back into ZBrush and changed it a little bit more, so we kind of defined the nose and a little bit more work on the eyes to give them a little bit more of a droopier look. That was a little bit too wide in the previous version. And like I said before, you can go back and forth and keep changing it and adapting to different styles, but it was literally just a case of going to ZBrush, dragging things around a little bit more, and also we've just thrown on a different outfit. So the next stage to this character is, you can see that we've added in some skin pores and things like that, using the usual skin gen tools, and that make it look really nice, and like I say, give it that subtle detail that, you know, I think even though it's subtle, you know, it really really helps make the character look good. So our next thing we're going to do is we're going to add on the wrinkle map. So first of all, we just need to activate wrinkle maps. So if we go to, let's go to our facial expressions, let's do motion, and we'll do, what's quite nice is in here we have wrinkle check. So we're going to go for dramatic male, and we're going to have a look at how these wrinkles are working with the character. You can really see that there. Showing up there. If we was to, let's get an expression, so like this, this one here, when we go into the wrinkle map settings, this is where we can adjust these as well. So this is where you can see what they're actually doing. So like, you know, here's the overall strength, but we can bring the normal maps down, the redness, and the crease line. So you've got a lot of control over how it looks, and then how quick they appear, which is really nice. But they also have, which we've got in our content pack, the wrinkle setting. So we've got some, let's have a look. Let's go to wrinkles. So we've got all the standards, but we've also got the wrinkle pack. So you've got the stylized character ones as well. So let's have a play around with some of these. So let's try some of the deep wrinkles. We could try, let's have a look how this one looks with deep saggy wrinkles. So you can see this really does change the type of wrinkles that are on there. What's really cool are these stylized ones. Let's try this ripple. So it's a case of going through these, and all these can be edited as well. So you can actually really go in and customize all these wrinkles to be exactly how you want them to look. So yeah, I think those ones look really nice, and again, it's just that subtle effects that really add to the character. Now let's try an animation on the character. So let's go to our animations. I think I've got a simple little groove. We'll also go in and we'll put some facial expressions on. Expression, with the soul. Yeah, follow the beat. So here's another example of a stylized character. I'll show you it first without the wrinkle map. So I'm going to turn the wrinkle map down. You can see how it affects the eyelids quite nicely. And if you press play, now we'll put the same animation, but we'll turn up. We'll just crank it all the way up to 100. And you can see it really does add that extra level of detail. And you know, like for something like this, I think he's these bits here are a little bit too dark. So that's that one's so dark. Still want them there, but just not as much. And with some simple adjustments, it's looking more like what I want it to be like. Here's another example of a more stylized character. Though on this one, let's do. I think, you know, we're not going to want too much realistic. So on this character, we're not going to want really realistic wrinkles. So this is where the stylized wrinkle pack would come in handy. So first of all, we'll try some deep wrinkles, which are more realistic. See how that look on this stylized character, and then we'll try some of the actual stylized versions. So in all fairness, it doesn't look too bad actually. It looks quite nice, and adds that again another level of detail. But let's try this with the ripple one. This has worked quite nicely. So again, just little subtle additions. You can just see it's adding that more detail into the eyelids and into these areas. It's still a work in progress, but a good example of a more cartoony base for the wrinkle maps. So this final character is a more realistic design, which was so this final character is a more realistic model, and again we're going to turn on the wrinkles and see how this one looks. See where it's adding the wrinkles in. With this one, I'm going to definitely go with a more detailed example. So let's go with that one again, the deep saggy 4K wrinkle example, just to really emphasize wrinkles on this face. So you can see there how it's adding them in. So if you go back and press play, let's have a look at this without. So it's subtle, but really does help increase the detail on the character. You can see like the neck really emphasizes the expression. So in conclusion, where the MetaHuman gives a nice rendered result, I did find that the editing tools were a little bit limited, and for a stylized character you really need to be able to have a little bit more flexibility in modeling the mesh, so being able to move things, stretch them out a little bit more. And even when creating the realistic character, there was areas where I wanted to kind of push the forehead and the eyes a little bit more, so it was limited. CC4 Character Creator 4 works really well because it's got the GoZ plugin, so being able to go to ZBrush and utilize all the modeling features in there really allows you to do so much more and be more creative with the mesh. I hope this video helps and gives you some insight into our workflow and highlights some of the great features available in Character Creator 4. Thank you for watching.